Hi, welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers podcast. I'm very excited today because this episode we get to talk to Jesse Desjardins. And Jesse, I have a great relationship with Jesse. He's worked with me for several years, and then he's gone on to become a big deal. The guy is one of the top 10 influential people in travel. He's the head of social media for Tourism Australia, and he runs the Tourism Australia Facebook page and has turned them into the number one travel destination in the world. And so he's got some incredible experience that he's had in working on the social media side of a destination like Australia, but he's got a passion for local independent hoteliers. And so we got to spend this episode talking about and hatching some evil schemes for how independent hoteliers can apply the 8 profit activators to their before unit, their during unit, and their after unit. So I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. And this hospitality mindset really fits for any business, not just hoteliers. So I think you're going to get a lot of things that you can apply to your own business through this. So enjoy this episode.
Jesse Desjardins.
Dean, how's it going?
Good. I'm very excited. This has been, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and so I'm pretty excited to see how the 8 profit activators fit for independent hoteliers.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, but I don't think it's impossible to solve. I think typically independent hoteliers tend to not use direct response marketing. They tend to be kind of very focused on the delivery, like in the during unit. And I think that in the travel industry in a whole, and especially for hoteliers, there's just as much enjoyment, I think, and opportunity for consumers in the before and in the after unit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, let's start with the during unit, because that's where they're already focused. And you and I travel a lot, both of us, and we've had our own experiences kind of as travelers. And I always look at things with a marketing eye, because I'm always looking for how the 8 profit activators apply. And so, if we're thinking about this from a hotelier standpoint, the during unit would start when the moment somebody makes a reservation. So they've got an indication that, okay, this person's coming, and the during unit would go all the way through their stay and an extended period just beyond their stay, because we talk about Profit Activator 5 is creating that dream come true experience, and then Profit Activator 6 delivering after sale service. So, thinking about what could happen after somebody leaves. Most hotel experiences, especially if you're going with the larger brands, it's very corporate in a way. You're very, it's very official. Here's your official booking confirmation number. And when you leave, hey, thanks for staying. Here's your folio, and that's it, really, right? That's really all that ends up happening. So what?
I think experiences like Airbnb and all that kind of stuff, I think that's changing a lot of what we expect now from hotels. And like you said, that really kind of generic email that you get at the beginning, that's, to me, that's like a missed opportunity to build a lot of value for someone who's potentially coming to your area for the first time, who's never been there, who's confused as to what they're going to do in the 2-3 days that they're there.
Well, here's my observation, because I keep a running tally of the things that stand out for me in the during unit. So I'll share a couple of those stories with you, because they're kind of easy things that somebody could adopt. And the first one that really made an impact on me was from England. I was in at the Cowley Manor Inn in the Cotswolds, just outside of London. And I was checking in there. It's this beautiful old country manor house that had been converted into a boutique hotel and spa. So it's this big mansion that, the property is just stunning, like lots of rolling hills. And then they've turned it into a world-class, really modern spa. And I checked in. I was going to spend 4 days there, and checked in at 2:45 in the afternoon. And when you go in and check in, there's a desk that you sit at where you're being welcomed and going through all the check-in. And while I was sitting at the desk right there beside my seat was a sheet, postcards, a little pile of like postcard thickness, little cards that had today's available spa appointments. And it had the times listed and the treatments that were available. And I'm looking at this list, and at 3:30, there was a 60-minute massage available. And I immediately said to the lady as I was checking in, oh, if that's still available, I'll take that 3:30 massage. Now, that I'm always like hyper aware of when marketing is working on me, and I looked at this, and because I would have had every intention of getting a massage, and I probably would have done it the next day, or even a couple of the days while I was there. But that definitely spurred me over the top here to do it right now. Like literally, I went and dropped off my bags, went straight down to take that massage. And I thought, that level of daily attention to creating something that was going to be right in front of every person checking in that day. I wonder what the additional massage revenue or spa revenue they get from that one little thing,
I'd imagine it's quite high, and it's not something that takes a lot of time to do.
No, but here's the thing. Some people would probably look at that and say, well, couldn't we just put a generic flyer that says, here's all the spa treatments are available, and call this number to book, enjoy a massage while you're here, like something that would just be evergreen. Seems like it would be so much easier, but that would not have gotten me to take that 3:30 massage today. There's something like that,
So could you use the same thing, say, for example, at the beginning? Because when we talked about the first moment in the during unit is when they actually make the booking. So they get
Sure.
that generic email. So I recently stayed at a property called Sapphire in Tasmania, and it's been voted often one of the best resorts in Australia and probably the world. But they basically have 4 different categories of people who book. So they have your foodies, your adventurers, and when they kind of have certain criteria that they look for, but when they identify that it's a foodie that's signed up or that's registered to come and spend the night or a couple of nights, they actually get a customized package from the head chef itself. So it's like they've customized the information that they're going to get based on what their interests are.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, that setting it all in makes a big difference. I was looking in my email here while we're talking to see if I can find my welcome email from the Ace Hotel in London, and it was really, really well done. Like, I mean, the check-in email, the welcome email. Let me see if I can find it here, because they send an email that is written by a real person, and that's what's kind of exciting. Okay, your reservation.
I guess a lot of the stuff doesn't seem like it's done by a real person. Like
right, that's what I mean. Like
very automated. It seems.
Yeah, this was like that seems like what you normally get is a computer generated, just the facts kind of thing. So here's the one from the London Shoreditch Ace Hotel, and it got a nice picture of the room, and then I'll just read the welcome email that they send, which looks like a personal kind of email. It looks like it's on letterhead, Dear Dean, thank you for booking a room with us at Ace Hotel London Shoreditch. Your confirmation number is blank, arriving on Sunday, June 21st, and departing on Thursday, June 25th. Check-in is at 2 p.m. Checkout is at noon. If you arrive early, we can keep your bags for you until your room is ready. If you'd like a late checkout, please let us know and we'll try to make it happen. When you check in, we'll place a hold on your credit card for incidentals like booze or taking the blanket home with you. Now, you're reading along in this just typical kind of email, and you get all of a sudden this little pinch, like booze or taking the blanket home with you. This deposit will be applied to any charges you rack up during your stay or refunded at checkout if there are none. So that is really like an amazing personal touch to this. Like it had some personality to it. And then right below that, they've got all the reservation details and all their policies. Now, the interesting thing is I very rarely ever read these emails, right? Because most of them are just so mechanical and kind of machine driven. But I read this because it seems like a real person wrote this. So their pet policy, for instance, pets are welcome at a friendly rate of £25 a night with no charge for additional pets. When we say pet, we really mean dog. If you're bringing someone larger or stranger than a dog, let us know and we'll do our best to accommodate both of you. I mean, right, like you got to love that kind of communication, and I think that sets the tone for the experience that people are going to have. The during it really sets the tone right from the beginning. You feel like you're in for a personalized kind of experience.
I mean, there's plenty of research that backs this up too, that for people that there's just as much enjoyment before they've actually experienced the hotel or the tour or whatever it is, before and after also too. It's like the actual doing it itself is fine, but them telling all their friends that this is what they're going to do, and them telling afterwards, this is what I've done, and showing all the photos.
Well, how many people have I told about the Ace Hotel in Shoreditch because of this experience and the Cowley Manor Inn? Now, when you check into the Ace Hotel, they've done an incredible job because all of the rooms are really, I'll say, hipster. That was the word that comes to mind, kind of thing, right? Like that's exactly what it is. But everything in the room is for sale. Like you can buy the blanket, and you can buy the robes, and you can buy the toiletries, and they've got like a shelf of extra toiletries or skincare or bath bombs or all other things that you can buy, or other independent produced candies and foods and all that kind of stuff. It was really like an interesting shopping experience,
Well, it's essentially like every room's a showroom then.
Every room's a showroom.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible if you can increase revenue per room, say 20 or 30%, just by having these other items to sell. And I think that could work on any property. I mean, even if it's a small independent hotel, and even in a rural area, you can bring together all the best local things and showcase them.
Yeah. Now, here's an idea that I've never seen anybody use, but I would be okay and actually appreciate it if they did. When I got this email from the Shoreditch Hotel, I think it would be very valuable to get a daily email while I'm in residence at the hotel that lets me know about just the basic things. Like when I woke up in the morning, let's say they send an email every morning at 5 a.m. or something, so that when you get up, here's this email from your host at the hotel. And this is what I love, is that independent hoteliers are really in a better position to do something like this than a corporate hotel in a lot of ways, because you get to put your ownership stamp on something more often and really practice that hospitality element of it. But I thought, for instance, if when I'm at the Hazelton in Toronto, high-end boutique, Yorkville, really great location, really great hotel, and if somebody would every day while I'm in residence there send me an email with the weather for the day, or and here's what's going on in the city, like if you have from the different departments, maybe, right? Like if you have the concierge is sending and saying, these are the concerts that are going on, or these are the shows that are going on. If you'd like to get tickets for either of these, please, just reply to this email or call us at extension this, or then from the restaurant saying the chef has got this on special. This is the special for tonight, or any kind of thing that would be enhancing my experience, along with these are the spa appointments that are available today, and then maybe a super signature of maybe just standardized things that you could do at the hotel that might be revenue generators that you didn't even know were available.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, and I think independent hotels can really add their own kind of little personality to it, sort of thing. And there's a really big insight, I think, in the Airbnb guides. One of the reasons, there's plenty of travel guides everywhere online, like TripAdvisor, all that kind of stuff. But the ones that I think are doing really well at the moment are the Airbnb guides, where it's the host telling you what to do, what are the great spots around your the property that's for rent. So, for example, the concierge might not just be recommending you the top tours to do around the city, but they might say, actually, have you go try the coffee down the street, the best coffee here, or go do this or go do that. Things you would not even know about,
Right. That's exactly right, because there are a lot of independent restaurants and independent cafes and independent things that I think it's kind of important and a unique opportunity for independent hoteliers to kind of think not just about the stay within the property, but to think about their visit to the city as a whole, and to enhance that. That's what I was saying about the shows or about the things, but maybe to highlight different tours that are different tour operators that are available, or different independent shops or cafes or restaurants or experiences.
You often talk about being kind of the mayor of a niche sort of thing. Do you think this is as applicable to small properties, also too?
I do. Here's the thing: is I always look at when you start talking about all the opportunities. Everybody is very myopic in their view, in that they're only worried about their own category, what it is that they're doing, right? The hotel stay, for instance. But there's and here you've got all these tour operators, you've got the independent, restaurants and events and all these things that everybody's just worried about how to get people to come to their establishment or their category, but nobody is thinking about the really owning or being the mayor of people visiting their location, And I think when you take that kind of approach, and just organize the group, organize the collective, it creates a better opportunity for everybody.
Absolutely. And then I think that's when people want to work with you, and that's kind of when you create these strategic alliances that just work for everybody.
Yes.
I flew this week. I flew out of Sydney, and the Qantas First Class Lounge is absolutely incredible.
Yes.
But instead of them doing the service themselves, they actually got Sofitel to come in. So all the staff, apart from the check-in staff right at the front, are all Sofitel staff.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really quite incredible because it's not really a space that hotels typically operate in. So I think it can kind of work the reverse way also too.
Swiss hospitality, right?
Yeah.
Is that Sofitel is Swiss, isn't it?
I think it's French, yeah.
French. Okay, French. So, yeah, I mean, that kind of thinking, like when you're thinking about the airlines or about, to think out of the box like that and bring in a hospitality element. I mean, I think that's how airlines like Qantas and others are trying to enhance their business class and first class experiences by partnering with celebrity chefs for the menus and for, just like you're saying, for Sofitel, for the hospitality in the lounge.
Well, I think there's never been a better chance to. I mean, if airlines is kind of one thing. I mean, it's quite expensive to create that incredible experience of 30,000 feet. But I think kind of bringing it back to the ground with small properties, I don't think there's been a better time to kind of leverage this great experience. Like, I think what people expect now are not things that cost a lot of money. It's just little kind of touch points here and there that make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, there was a very famous hotel in Las Vegas that built their whole clientele on offering free postcards to the people who were staying in the hotel. They would offer all these gambling packages, packaged with a show and some money to get you started on gambling, and it was a really good deal. Is how they marketed it to kind of just middle America, right? Come to Vegas and have some fun, go to a show. We'll give you some gambling money, all that kind of stuff. And then when people would come, they would give them the opportunity to send, 3 or 4 postcards to their people back and where they were from, and they would encourage people to do that and show them the where to put the postcards. And then when they would get the postcards, they would take the addresses of the people that they were mailing to and build their database, and then do direct mail to them. That's to right. To invite them to come to have a package at the hotel.
It's amazing the amount of people that I speak to, like in terms of the small hotels, that when I ask them, I say, "Oh, what's your repeat business?" and they'll often tell me, 20 and 30% of people we know are repeat business. I'm like, "Oh, how do you know that?" It's complete guesswork. I'm like, "Oh, we don't really communicate with them. We just we notice them keep coming back every year." I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy."
Yeah, crazy, right? So, and there's, that's when we move into the after unit. That's really that's really the big opportunity. Do you find that hoteliers are concerned, like they live on sort of small margins, or is it what would stop them from taking this mindset of nurturing a lifetime relationship with somebody, or orchestrating referrals, which are the two profit activators that we have in the after unit?
So I think that there's a few things. It really depends, I think, where you are. So partly some properties, it would be low margins. Other properties, it would be seasonality. So they're only really popular in kind of 6 or 7 months out of the year. So how do they fill in the rest of the spots? And a big chunk of it, I would say, probably the big topic for the past couple of years has been your OTAs, your online travel agents, so your Expedias and your Pricelines. You take anywhere between 15 to, on an independent property, it can be up to 30% sometimes. And that's quite difficult to compete with other properties around, especially the big chain hotels. So this is what I'm kind of wondering as we're talking, is there an opportunity to, if you are paying that 30%, to maybe reinvest some of that into creating that really great experience? Or I'm not quite sure. There could be some opportunities there potentially.
Well, I think if you look at it, that certainly it's about metrics, right? So when you're looking at the during unit experience, you take 100 people, and look at what's the value of those 100 visits, or however they look at their number, the average stay, and really start looking at what are the incremental things that we could do. What are there things like that, the daily email, or in the welcome email, or in the environment where people are. It's kind of an interesting, one of the first times that I came to Australia, one of the hotels, I think it was the Marriott downtown. Is that where I did the first Breakthrough Blueprint? Do you remember? The Marriott.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Marriott at Circular Quay, one of the things that I noticed about that experience was there would often be a door hanger on my door when I came back from the day, and it would have some different business cards on it, or some different other businesses on it. And I don't know whether that was something that the hotel did, or whether it was something that just some enterprising entrepreneur was coming and doing door hangers without their knowledge. But you think about those kind of things, like if you had I've been at other event hotels where they'll have a daily newsletter about what's going on at the convention or whatever. But I just think there's such a great opportunity there, by email, to have a daily email while I'm in residence. And you just think like that, is such a simple thing. It's free. You've already got my email address. You know that I'm there, and so why not? Use that opportunity. I think that's a pretty easy strategy that any hotel could do. As a really easy process.
Absolutely. And it's like when you're testing it, like when you're testing all these different little things you're doing, I guess you can kind of go back and ask yourselves, like the whole kind of value question, like does this little thing actually create value for the customer? So you provide them with the daily events or activities or daily things. Yes, that would actually provide a lot of value to somebody who's never been to Sydney. It's their first time. They've just gotten up in the morning after a long flight. They're super confused. They only have 48 hours at that particular what are the absolute best things that they need to do, right? So that creates a lot of value, I think, to somebody. But then again, how do you bring back value back into the business in form of revenue or whatever it is? That I think by aligning yourself with the right people, I would imagine you would see a lot of patterns after a certain while. Like if you're quite observant in your business, you would notice that certain people, when they do this, this is what they like to do, and this is what else they like to do. Families who come in with 2 kids, this is the tour that they like to go on. It becomes quite evident and becomes quite a system after a while.
Yep.
It becomes almost like a predictable algorithm.
Yes. And that's kind of a, like you think about being able to put together a little welcome package when people arrive, almost like giving some of the other, and I mean, as a revenue thing, to have the opportunity for tour operators or local businesses or out of the way things to be, included in this welcome guide or welcome package that they get when they check in to the hotel, or that it's waiting in their room with some special offers or things that might lead people. So often the hotels kind of, what you end up seeing is that somebody does that on a more corporate kind of way. Like there's always in every city a tourist kind of magazine, It's
like, I almost think that people sort of kind of actively, like there's more and more people now that actively don't look at those things.
Right.
Like they would specifically want to go to things. And it's like I was in Dallas a few days ago, and I went on TripAdvisor, and it's like, I don't actually really want to do the top 10 things. I want to do something very different. And it wasn't until I actually took an Uber, actually I went to Whole Foods and I was talking to the Uber driver, and he was super passionate about doing he wanted to set up a barbecue, like all the best barbecue places around the city to go to. I'm like, that's amazing. I would actually really want to do that. I didn't know. Things like that. I think there'd be huge opportunities. That if the hotel were to notice these trends, it's like, great, you can buddy up with an local entrepreneur and just create this thing. This little thing.
So I think that's a pretty cool opportunity. If you start looking at the, you realize how long people are going to be there, and look at the whole timeline, the experience timeline that people are going to have from their welcome email to the moment they arrive, to the daily opportunity while they're there, and also to the what can you say and do after they leave to set the stage for them being part of the family. Now I often get things from the Ace Hotel, letting me know about different specials or different things that are going on. And they've got other hotels outside of London too.
I get plenty of those emails too. I'm sure that's like a welcomed email, but I get a lot of emails sometimes too. It's like, I stayed at this property 2 years ago, and they're still emailing me, and it's like not personalized at all. It's just a generic kind of corporate looking email.
Right. Yeah.
And it's funny because I think in the after unit, kind of whole orchestrating referrals, and one of the things that really upsets me is this. So kind of, you look at properties and they're like, oh, like us on Facebook or share our stuff, and you're like, why? Why would I? It's all about you.
Right.
Where it's like, it just seems like the opportunity should be much more about me instead. And it's my experience. What are you doing to help me tell a better story about myself?
Yeah.
And
now, I think about when I was growing up, we, for several years, would go to an independent hotel in Treasure Island, Florida, and this was a place that was right on the beach in Treasure Island, and it was just a small, a motel, really. I mean, it was, they had these efficiency kind of apartment kind of situations, and a nice pool, and it was owned by a family from Michigan who had moved down there, and they had 3 kids, George and Greta and Gary. And I remember, they became we became like part of the family in a way. We would get like Christmas cards and Thanksgiving letters and things from them, and it was like our home away from home in Florida. So we probably did that, for several years, always coming down to maybe one or two times a year to this one hotel. And I thought, that's kind of the opportunity that an independent has as well, especially if it's owner operated. That's one of the things you've got is the opportunity to really. That's one of the competitive advantages that you can have is really that it's hospitality.
There's a hostel in Amsterdam called the Hansbrinker Budget Hotel.
Right.
Yeah, and they pride themselves on being the worst hotel in the world. It's been their positioning for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's quite incredible because it's their whole before it was like their whole advertisement was basically stay at the worst hotel in the world and all that kind of stuff, and they would always take advantage of things that were kind of trending. So for example, when SARS was a big issue a couple years ago, they had posters that say "Improve your immune system by staying at the Hansbrinker Budget Hotel."
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they had blown up dust mites, and then one year it was we're the world's first accidentally eco-friendly hotel, and you can use the eco elevator, which was the stairs or
the stairs because they don't have an elevator. Yeah,
exactly. And that was interesting, but I guess what they noticed is that people would be stealing their posters and coming in and wanting to take something home, so they created this whole after unit where they would sell a lot of this work. Like every campaign that they would do would be different posters, and people would buy them. And I've seen these posters all across the world now, and people collect them, and it becomes part of the story that people tell themselves that I stayed at the worst hotel in the world. It's actually
they actually have a great book. I think you bought me the book of the. They have a book that's a nice leather bound book that's the worst hotel in the world.
Yeah. But it's crazy. But again, kind of that focus on you're helping people tell a story about themselves. So yes, there's a great story about the property, but I want to take that home because I want to put that on my wall, and I want that to be part of my story.
Mm-hmm. Super important. So I mean, the simplest things of if we look at kind of checking the boxes of what we've mentioned here so far in the During unit, in terms of looking at the welcome email, looking at the daily spa availability, if you've got that, or whatever would make the sense of that, a daily email while you're in residence to offer, keep me up to date. Here's what's the weather. Here's what's going on in town. Here's what tickets we can get for you. Here's a place you might want to check out. And then here's the spa appointments, or here's dinner reservations if you'd like that. All the while just thinking about what are the things that would enhance my stay while I'm there. And then the in-room environment. What are the things that we could do? Could you raise the bar on this? Are there local food or toiletry or skincare or things that local artisans that would enhance kind of that in-room experience? And how I would look at that kind of as the opportunity,
There's probably a lot of leverage in that, where people would actually pay you, or they wouldn't charge you to have those things in your hotel.
Exactly. Is how can we turn that into an enhancement and a profit center? That's really the bottom line of it, right? Or a lot of these restaurants would, the best independent restaurants or the tour operators, a lot of those we're definitely in a culture right now where people are used to and willing to pay per booking or pay per, almost like affiliate type of situations, especially as a tour operator would be happy to do that. And
well, they typically pay 30% commission. So say, for example,
there you go. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's huge opportunities there. Like typically, kind of it's a surf company or someone that takes out tours, like a wine tasting tour. They'll usually pay 30% to an agent. Somebody. Yeah. Why can't the hotels have the same opportunities?
Right, and that's kind of a great opportunity there. So I guess the thing in the during unit to look at is to map out that timeline and to just kind of observe and to think, what are the assets that we have? What are the opportunities that we have? What could we do at a low cost to get in front of the people? Who could we partner with or introduce that would enhance somebody's stay? All of those things are real great opportunities. And when you start to look at it and you put a kind of metric around it to monetize all of these, that's the whole point here, is to figure out how can we get the most out of everything that we're doing here, and do it in a way that's enhancing somebody's experience, not in a way that seems like you're just pushing stuff on them. And there's a subtle art to that,
So do you think there's any opportunities? So I sort of feel like that independent hoteliers sometimes are a bit isolated from everything else. So because they're so busy working in the business that they don't have the benefit of a big hotel chain who probably has someone thinking about this kind of full time, and they're able to kind of spread their insights throughout the whole network. But oftentimes independent hoteliers just kind of, they don't really see a lot of these big opportunities because they're so busy working in the business.
Right.
I think potentially there's probably an opportunity
that's part
there.
Of why having hosting a group of them of independent hoteliers to share ideas and to have access to things like that, to ideas like that, to bounce ideas off, to just model what other hotels are doing in other areas. It's kind of
and I guess like the travel industry, and especially the hotel industry, tends to be very they tend to look at what themselves that they're doing, sort of thing, and they often don't really get inspiration from the outside. And if you look at like a lot of advertising agencies, especially when they're coming up with new design for clients, oftentimes it's just stuff that's been remixed from 3 or 4 other places.
Yeah,
they'll look for a directory book, or they'll look at other award-winning work, and then be able to remix something in kind of a new formula for them. So I'm almost wondering if there's some kind of opportunity to look at the best cases from all around the world and present that back.
I think that would be awesome.
I think
if only there was somebody who could put something like that together.
If only there was somebody that can put something like that together. But I think if I was a small hotelier, this would be something that would be really worthwhile. I want to see what other people like me are doing all around the world, and what are the best ideas that can be applied.
I agree. I agree. Cool. I think that's really I think that's a big opportunity. And then, in the after unit, if we think about, the metric for the, the metric in the during unit that you want to pay attention to is the sort of the ancillary income. What are the, when you look at the revenue from the hotel stay on its own, that's the baseline. And then the strategic opportunity of how much extra revenue can we generate by having, more dinner reservations, more spa appointments, more affiliate type of relationship things. How can we enhance that experience for people and measure that to see, that it's actually working? Because a lot of those things are the cost, the incremental cost of adding a new, a new source like that is very, very low. Like, you look at the spa experience at the Cowley Manor Inn, the cost of printing 50 or 100 of those postcards every day to put by the front counter is very, very low. And they print them off right there at the place. But that, for somebody like me, taking that 3:30 spa appointment that would otherwise go unused. That's the thing about everything in the hotel industry is perishable, but the incremental cost of having a new guest is very low. So, if that spa appointment went empty, that's zero revenue. So adding, and it doesn't cost very much to add something like that, but you look at, of all the people checking in, if that were to generate, one extra spa booking every day, it's a lot of revenue from that one little idea,
I mean, you can also apply the same kind of model almost to like tours sort of thing, because distressed inventory is like the tour still needs to operate. Even if there's only 10 people on the bus and they can fit 15, there's probably an opportunity to find 5 more people in the hotel who actually would like to go on that tour.
I think you're right. Absolutely. Even last minute things. If that would be the kind of thing where if I woke up and I have an email in my inbox telling me here's what the weather is, here's the latest, local news, here's what's going on, and maybe here's 3 things, in the what should we do today category. Here's some last minute opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be a win for everybody, like if you look at, if we're talking about like, would a 100-room hotel be like a mid-size independent? I don't know what.
There's some probably like around, I'd say like 40 to 80 range would be
okay.
Kind of
but you look at that for every day there's 40 to 80 potential guests getting this email, for whatever their occupancy rate is. It's I think it's a really low cost, high yield opportunity there.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then in the after unit, looking at the metric that we would use is, of all of the people who have stayed at the hotel before, what percentage of them come back? What percentage of them come back to the hotel? And I think that once that gets locked in, I think there's especially if somebody's a repeat traveler to a specific area, there's something nice about being recognized as a return guest. Like at the Hazelton in Yorkville, I would alternate between the Four Seasons and the Hazelton, and I've kind of really been leaning towards more on the Hazelton side. They're both 5-star hotels. They're both the 2 nicest in the city, and the Hazelton is a smaller hotel. They know me by name. They, I have a great experience when I go there. So I do want to come back, and I always talk about it,
But I think the trick too is that, like, being able to deliver those great little experience moments for people. It's about having the right system behind the scenes. And,
yes.
Like Sapphire, the property I was talking about before. So this was my 3rd visit a couple of weeks ago, and welcome back, Mr. Desjardins, all this kind of stuff. And they know so much about you, and I realized it's actually when I started asking them, how do you remember all this stuff? they actually showed me the file that they kept on me, which I thought was a little bit weird, but quite incredible that they actually had like 3 pages of notes from my previous stay. I had a cold last time, and when I have a cold, I like to have warm water with some lemon and some ginger and all that kind of stuff. And then I was having the same thing again, and they're like, "Oh, would you like some warm water with lemon and ginger?" I was like, "Oh man, that's incredible! I've never met you before. It's incredible that you know that." And I realized it's like they have a pretty good system to remember this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that is really great. That's awesome. Like I think at the Hazelton, they must have on their daily thing, here's who's coming, here's who's arriving kind of thing. Like they must, you must get that sense that, because they all remember me by name, and, there's got to be some level of cheating going on, in a sense that they know I'm coming kind of thing,
Well, because they listen to your podcast, I'm sure.
It still
actually,
feels
someone did
great.
recognize you the other day from your podcast. I remember that.
I know, yeah, that was funny. Yeah, in Manly when we were there, right? But that that sort of everybody, it's now I've got equity in being a guest of the Hazelton. It's like I don't want to switch to something new. Like, Dan Sullivan always had something great that people, as people, we want to grant people a monopoly on our business, right? Like it would just be, I feel good about knowing that I've got my Toronto accommodation situation handled. I don't have to shop around or try and figure that out. I've got it. And I know that for the 60 or 80 nights that I'm going to be in Toronto, that's where I'm going to be.
I mean, we even have seen you come to Manly. Is it your 4th trip to Manly?
Yeah, 4th.
You know more about that suburb than I've lived in Sydney for 10 years, and you know more about that suburb than I do, because it's almost like you're like a local now.
Yes, I love it, and that's the kind of thing. Like we have that tradition of starting my journey to Australia every year at the Pantry, right on the beach, and so. But I'm always interested in adding new experiences to that. Like I did an Airbnb this time, which was really a great experience, because the lady came and met us right at the Pantry, walked me over to the place. It was all very, very accommodating,
Well, I think that's why, like, you're right. Like Airbnb is putting pressure, I think, in a lot of kind of independent hoteliers, because they're like, it's just providing a completely different experience. But I think that's the thing.
Personal experience.
Personal experience. That's the thing. Even when you I would encourage anybody, if they haven't done it yet, to book a property in Airbnb and just look at on the lens of like their whole before, during, and after unit.
Yes.
That obviously the during, that's up to the host sort of thing. But Airbnb does, I think, an incredible job in the before and the after unit. Mm-hmm. Right when you book, even the day before, it's like, Jesse ! You're going to Manly, and here's different things around that people have suggested, and don't forget you pack this and all. Here's the important details you need, and then afterwards, even to write a review, that you want for you to write a review, for you to see it, what the other person has wrote about you. You have to write one first. So
I know, I saw that. That's great.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what better motivator to know that Dean, your host, has reviewed you? But it's like, oh man, I want to see it.
Yeah.
You got to write one first.
So let's talk a little bit about the before unit for independent hoteliers. And I talked about I kind of left this to the end. Start with the during and the after, because I think that's where the lowest hanging fruit is. That's where the competition-proof opportunity is, right? When they're staying at your hotel, they're in residence under your care. You're the only one who has that opportunity to send that daily email, right? So you've got them under that bubble of the your competition-proof sort of monopoly on being able to send them a daily email while they're in your hotel. And I think that if you had that, I think could be even a role within a hotel for somebody as the guest experience enhancer role, that to have that somebody take responsibility for that and constantly out looking for opportunities, and almost like do you remember this show, The Love Boat? You remember the cruise director kind of thing where she would get to know everybody and introduce opportunities for them? That's almost what there's almost that role of somebody being the host, or the cruise director type of mentalities. And I think that any hotel could have that opportunity. It could be a 20 or 30 hour a week position kind of thing. I think that often where small businesses in general, hoteliers probably specifically, would find that when they have an idea like this, to try and put somebody who's got other responsibilities in charge of this, that it would be very inconsistent, because when the hotel's busy, they've got other things going on, other things to do, and they wouldn't be able to kind of expressly dedicate that time to it. But if somebody was, completely responsible for this as an opportunity, I think it could be I think it could make a big difference revenue-wise.
But I think oftentimes, like, maybe that's the role of the general manager, so that amongst a million other things that they're doing.
Yeah.
But often I think it's often like the front desk person, the people who are like the closest to the consumer ultimately. I think they have a role to play in all of this too. And I think a big part of this is, do you create that culture internally? Because I think it's all well and good to have great intentions to provide great experience, all that kind of stuff. But if those are not being lived and breathed on the front line,
I think somebody, especially when there's multiple people that they're going to have, that they're going to run into, or multiple people who are going to be part of the experience, that there's no one person kind of owning it. We just added, I think maybe it's been a year already now, but we added a concierge to our 90-minute book team, because the 90-minute book process, they're going to, touch lots of different people in that process. They could touch as many as 6 different people in that process. But having one person, having Betsy now as the concierge to kind of walk and host people through that process seamlessly, so they have a great experience, is it's making a difference. That people have a great, consistent experience there. I think that could be a nice part of concierge-like experience.
Yeah, but having that consistency is also key, because sometimes there's a few people who can really get it, but it's like, how do you put those right systems in place that the consistency is like, throughout? It's not just when a few people kind of come online.
Right. I think that makes a difference. So in the before unit, when we were talking a little bit, you and I have talked about this before, about the online travel agents as a pretty consistent way.
So I guess the big thing is that those OTAs, the online travel agents, pretty much dominate a lot of things, right? So your Expedias, your Pricelines, all that kind of stuff. And for a small independent, it's quite difficult because they're almost at the mercy of these big online travel agents, because they're the ones who own all the search listings, all the paid listings, all that kind of stuff. And even like it's quite typical that you see like the actual listing for the property, like the actual website, will often be 6 or 7 down on the search listings, because all the top ones will all be your OTAs. So how do you compete in that space, especially when you're paying the 15 or 30%, which is quite difficult?
Yeah. So the thing about it is that in a lot of ways, the real estate industry is kind of going that way too. In that a lot of things with the real estate agents, there's Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia and all these lead generators that in some ways it does provide an opportunity for you, because it almost like they're acting as a before unit, right? So and there's a set kind of market value for it, that if a hotel is willing to pay 20 or 30% of a booking to have a guaranteed booking, that makes sense for them often, right? Like, in your experience, have you seen what percentage of bookings come from the OTAs kind of thing for hotels?
I think, again, it depends if it's a kind of a chain hotel splitting, which can be quite high, because a lot of them all have agreements with the OTAs.
Yeah.
As a small independent, it can be anywhere, I think, between like 20 and 60%, again, depending on seasonality and where they are. But what's difficult is often what they'll do is they'll have to negotiate with the Expedias to have a certain number of rooms available per night.
Yeah.
And if Expedia don't sell them, then it's kind of like it's rooms that are kind of left unsold, which becomes a little bit difficult. And often I find the trouble is when you're competing on price, then it just becomes quite difficult, because you're just competing in all the OTAs just simply on price, and how do you differentiate yourself? So I think kind of going back to the during and the after units, you're providing a lot of value, you're providing really great experience. A lot of that stuff actually feeds right back into the before unit. It feeds right back into your TripAdvisor listings, to what people are sharing about you on social, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It helps, even if your property is 20% more than all the other listings on Expedia, for example, you're clearly demonstrating that the customers are willing to pay 20% more, because they're going to get a better experience. So I think that's kind of the mindset you should probably have.
Yeah, especially if people see, the customer ratings are really high, even if the star rating of the actual hotel is lower.
No one wants to stay at the second best Western. You want to stay at the best Western.
I love that. That's so great. That's my favorite thing about The Simpsons, all that background stuff. The second best Western.
Second best Western.
I think that when we look at the opportunities in the before unit, Profit Activator 1, of course, is selecting a single target market. So you start to think about, okay, what, aside from just the online shoppers who are looking for the hotels, what are the other opportunities that we could, really get kind of groups in? Or like, so if I look at ideas like if you have a conference facility that you could,
weddings, anything like that,
yes, weddings, conferences, business groups, like I look at even just something like my Breakthrough Blueprint events. I do them always when I'm here in Florida at Celebration, which is a 110 or 15 room hotel. We've got a really great conference room. It's perfectly situated, that there's nobody needs a car. There's all the restaurants and Starbucks and everything right there in walking distance, 20 minutes from the airport. So you look at even a group like that, like a small group, where if I have 10 or 12 people, and that's 10 or 12 hotel rooms, that's 10% of the property.
I know, well, often it's even more than that. I was at a conference last week, and we were taking up 200 out of the 240 rooms.
Right.
So it's huge, yeah. But often I find, like, because I've worked a bit in this space too, where we kind of have to host different business events at different properties, and often business will get 2 or 3 different proposals from 2 or 3 different propities. And
right.
to be honest, there's not a lot of differentiation between all of them. It's kind of like it's pretty standard, kind of all around. And I've always thought that it'd be such a great opportunity to, again, I think going back to this whole kind of referral thing from a consumer point of view, to really kind of help the business tell a really good story about themselves. Like, why couldn't a hotel actually provide me with really great, amazing internet, or really kind of help share some of the knowledge that's being captured back through it, or maybe provide something that's going to make it that much better for me to hold that conference there as opposed to anywhere else.
Yes. Agreed. And that, I think that they're, thinking outside of the box on that, if somebody was, seeking out people who do small group conferences. I mean, the Celebration doesn't have a big ballroom. I've had some slightly bigger events there, but with, maybe 60 people at the most. But, thinking about what the asset is that you have, could it be, is it your spa? Is it your restaurant? Is it the, what is the opportunity there? I always look at, whenever I think about hotels, I immediately think about Gamal Aziz, who was the guy who but was the general manager of the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And I think that this approach that he takes is phenomenal. I share it because it works for any business, but he would look at every element of the operation. So he would break it down into restaurants and entertainment and gambling and the spa and hotel rooms and conventions and retail, all of the things that go into making up all of the revenue. And he would look at these and take an approach of how high is high. If you think about, if you got an asset like a conference room or conference space, and you start to look at how high is high, what would this be worth if we were fully optimized on that, and so he would do something like that with the restaurants. He looked at they had a great flagship restaurant that was doing $4 million a year in sales, and it's profitable, but nobody would look at that and say that's a problem. But he would stand in the entrance of the hotel night after night, and he'd see people coming out of the hotel, getting into cabs, and he'd ask them, "Where are you going?" And they would say, "Well, we're going to Spago, or we're going to Nobu," or they'd name these celebrity restaurants that they were going to. And here he is in the largest hotel in the world, and he knew that if we had a celebrity restaurant, a celebrity chef, a high-end restaurant, that we could be doing $8 million a year instead of $4 million. So he looks at that and counts it as a loss. So he would say, we're losing $4 million a year because of our $4 million profitable restaurant. So he goes into the board, gets them to agree to, rip out the restaurant, redo it, same space, same location, get a celebrity chef, Michael Mina, open up Nob Hill. And the first year after opening, they did $11 million. From looking at that, just one thing, and he did that same thing with every element. They got rid of their FX show, partnered with Cirque du Soleil, went from $28 million in ticket sales to $120 million in ticket sales, went from $40 haircuts in their, standard salon to $400 styles in their celebrity hair salon. And so looking at these things, looking at each element of the operation and seeing, okay, if we could do, if we have a really great wedding package or wedding opportunity or venue, what could we do? Is that a strength? What do we have location wise? Do we have a great place that we could do outdoor weddings? Could we have a nice room specifically for boutique size weddings, or and looking for really expanding that business as a as a front end? That's all the kind of things that are on a local basis, the opportunities to tap into something that you're not going to find on Expedia or on Trivago or whatever.
Yeah, and if you're going to have your wedding at that town, you got to completely dominate it. Why not?
And that's the thing. What would it take? Yeah, or what would it take if you were, looking to, could you have a state-of-the-art conference center that it became, the best place for a small company to come and have their annual sales retreat? Or what other kinds of venues to start thinking about the ancillary stuff, the alternate reasons that the hotel room just becomes part of the package, right? But the big draw is that we're coming to the wedding. Or
look at all the extra, even if you have your event at Celebration all the time, right? That's extra savings that they don't need to get new business all the time. They've made the experience so good for you. You will want to keep coming back there every single time. You're not shopping around every single year for a different one.
No,
that's what we should aim for.
Yeah, and so you think about that. I know the Celebration Hotel has a agreement with a film school summer camp, that they have some high number of rooms for the whole month of July, or throughout July and August, that kids are coming from all over to go to this film school, and it's all done, and they stay at the hotel, and they get some package some experience around going backstage at the Disney Studios and all those kind of things. You start to think outside of the box a little bit. That's where I think the opportunity in the before unit is for a lot of these hoteliers, and to maximize and just accept that the OTAs are really driving the online just hotel room shoppers, and maximize your do all the right things that will make you stand out and be attractive during that.
Even if you're paying the $10 more in commission, which is kind of typically kind of what the issue is, try to find an extra opportunity to provide $20 or $30 more of value down the road, down the pipeline.
That's right. In the during unit, if you know that
exactly.
Because in your during unit you've got this incredible, well thought out guest experience, that you've got that opportunity now to that you can afford to pay more to bring a guest in, because you know that the experience at the end of the day is going to be worth so much more.
Absolutely. I mean, even in the worst hotel in the world, the Hans Bricker, I've never actually stayed there myself, but I must have paid about $150 maybe, and to buy products, and I've never even stayed there.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so great.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. That's so funny. I'm going to go. I'm going to be in. I drove by it when I was in Amsterdam last in July. I'm going to be back in Amsterdam again this year, and my friend Ilko and I are going to film a video there.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a cool place. So Jesse, I think we hatched some evil schemes for some hoteliers here. What do you think?
I think it's incredible. I think this is a space where there's just so much opportunity, And like you said, I think looking at that experience and looking at the systems that make those happen, I think that's kind of where it's at. It's definitely exciting, I think, to be in this business.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think if you, I had Anthony Melcori from Hotel Impossible on our I Love Marketing podcast, and I came up with that name for him, the guest experience architect, which he loved, and that that would be a great kind of companion episode to this here, because he's really world class at that guest experience architecture here. You look at every episode of the Hotel Impossible show, as he's basically looking at the whole experience through the eyes of the guest, and everything is part.
That's the key part, and I think that's what most kind of hoteliers, it's quite funny that they've been doing the same thing for the past 10, 15 years, and he'll come in and say, you're doing this wrong, here's the opportunity. And so as a viewer, you're watching this going, why isn't this obvious? But I think it's kind of like it should have been the operator in the first place who should have been thinking this way.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that was fun, Jesse. Thanks for being part of this. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
And there we have it. Another great episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers. If you'd like to continue the conversation and you would like to find out more about how to apply the 8 Profit Activators to your business, go to breakthroughdna.com and you can download a copy of the Breakthrough DNA book that explains all of the 8 profit activators that we talk about on More Cheese, Less Whiskers and how to apply them to your business. We also have a scorecard for you where you can see where your business stands, where the opportunities are, where you might have the biggest improvement in your business by focusing on either your before unit or your during unit or your after unit. And if you're in the United States or Canada and you'd like to join us for a small group mastermind, I have a small group mastermind coming up in a couple of weeks at the end of October here in Celebration, Florida, where we're going to spend 3 days with a small group, 10 to 12 people, in a boardroom style event. And we go really deep in applying the 8 profit activators to your business specifically. It's my favorite kind of event that I do because we really get to spend personal one-on-one time really applying the 8 profit activators to your business. So if you'd like to take part in that or get more information on it, send me an email, dean@deanjackson.com, and put Orlando in the subject line, and we'll get you all the details, and hopefully you can join us either in October or December for our small group mastermind. That's it for this week. Tune in next time. We'll have another great episode of Hatching Some Evil Schemes for Another Small Business.